What is up, everybody? It is time again for another DC on RMD Talking Shop. I am your host, the one and only Bobby D, and in the studio with me, I have a full house. I have David.
Hello.
Ryan.
Hey.
And Michael.
Hey.
It's our first show of 2025, and with that, we got a bunch of shit to talk about. We are now officially in the James Gunn universe. I personally want to say I believe it's starting off real strong with Creature Commandos. I don't know how much, Ryan. I know, Ryan, you didn't watch it at all.
I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list. I will watch it.
But it is probably the best cartoon series I've seen out of DC decade plus.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Harley Quinn was decent, but this, I think, it was decent in it was what it was once it figured out what it was, if that makes sense.
After the first episode?
Yeah. Creature Commandos definitely had a path to go forward, like the whole way. Like James Gunn knew what he was doing with that thing. With that
especially
show.
from episode one. Episode one, we knew what the direction of the series was going to be.
And so that series, and I believe you guys will be doing a review on it, so you guys can listen to that when it comes out. But I think that kind of direction that we saw, with the characters making you care about them, musical selections, James Gunn doing James Gunn things, made me believe in what's the future of DC has to offer. Also, during that time, we saw the Superman trailer come out. And the Snyder nerds are shitting all over that. For whatever reason, they believe that restoring the Snyderverse is still the best thing going. I'm not a Superman person at all.
You and me both.
I might have a crypto shirt on, but I believe it came in a DC box that I bought, and it fits well. But you see some of the backlash coming against James Gunn and everything that he's doing for absolutely no reason when we've had such a disorganized universe. What was happening? You hear things like, well, I don't like the way Superman's face works. I don't like the way that there's so many characters because, we've talked about it in the past. He's thrown us dead center in a world.
Yeah.
There's no buildup.
There's no buildup. We know the stories.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing, too, is much like the early goings of Marvel, James Gunn actually does have, quote unquote, a phase. I mean, I like the fact that he's named his get-go for the next series of movies, Gods and Monsters, which means a lot for DC fans because that's a huge arc. That's a huge arc.
Yeah.
And to open it up with Creature Commandos, all of a sudden, right after I finished the series, it made much more sense why he dubbed this era of DC Gods and Monsters, because you have the monsters with Creature Commandos who are like these rejects that basically could be heroes, but they're very flawed, making them monsters. And now you're going to get your god in Superman next, and we're going to see how the world treats their gods.
I think the thing that I enjoyed, this is just the trailer because I watched it a couple times. I didn't have any issue with the way that, Superman looked. I thought he looked fine, and you know me, I'm not a Superman guy. But I think, the thing that I kind of had an issue with, I'm not a huge even a Green Lantern fan. But seeing Nathan Fillion, I thought kind of looked a little weird as Guy Gardner, but I thought he looked accurate.
Yeah,
I just thought he looked weird. Yeah. It's just Nathan Fillion, but otherwise, I thought Crypto looked cool, and I always thought Crypto was goofy in Superman, anyways. But I thought, damn, he kind of looks cool in this. I think Mr. Terrific looked cool, which is a kind of a weird character. If you really think about it, he's kind of a weird character, but still looked really cool in the. So I thought it all looked fine, and I think, like you said, they're throwing us right into a universe. They're throwing us right into I don't need to see him land in fucking Smallville. I don't need to see any of that shit. Just give me Superman, full blown Superman, and let's just go from there. I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch Spider-Man's fucking parents die for the 4,000th time. I know the story of Superman. At this point, I feel like most comic book nerds or even filthy casuals will know the story of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just fucking send it, you know? Like, I thought it looked fine. The ripple face thing, I mean, first of all, Zack Snyder fans, those guys, if Zack Snyder offered tit milk that he squeezed out of his own titty, they would buy it. Like, they think that everything he does is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I love Zack Snyder. I think he's great.
A couple points that you made I want to touch on. So, yes, I agree with the whole not needing an origin story thing, especially in this day and age where the audience is acclimated to the superhero genre, and we kind of get it. And if an origin is necessary to tell a specific story at some point, then you can harken back to that moment, as we have seen numerous directors now do, specifically James Gunn with Creature Commandos, where we're thrown right in the midst of action, and then when the timing's right and the narrative dictates it, you then go back to that go-to flashback sequence.
Yeah.
However, when you're doing non-linear storytelling, you do have to be careful because it can get messy really quick. But James Gunn seems to have a fine handle on that type of writing.
Yeah.
Now, same thing with Superman and Lois. We just got done witnessing a perfect example of a show that doesn't give you an origin story until it's needed for specific aspects of the story.
It flash, like, it'll be a parallel, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. It'll do stuff like that. And then by the end of the entire run of the show, you have a complete origin story because they randomly select numerous episodes to kind of give you some background. So if you can do that in a television show, it's quite easy to do the same type of strategy with a franchise. In mass, I don't see the issues with that. And
Look at Rocket Raccoon,
Exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to bring up. I mean,
where we didn't know or care how he
talking
was.
raccoon. How's that going to work?
and when did we find out?
The very final act.
Final
Yep.
act.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with James Gunn is, like, I think he's proven the point that he won't just do like what you mentioned earlier, Ryan, with the whole, we're just going to see their origin stories again and again and again and just force feed it to the mass audiences. We're going to actually make sure to use their origin story. Say, for example, like something that I did really enjoy was Peacemaker. I liked the fact that they used his origin story. Part of the entire story arc was his origin story, but they didn't just force feed it to us.
I will tell you this, and as I sit here, and I think Peacemaker is one of the better things that's come out with DC as far as live action in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I think John Cena, I thought for sure it was going to be a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same here.
I'm going to be honest with you, dude, like his acting in that show was incredible.
Well, I mean, listen,
It's funny.
whatever he's doing is working with the actual audience.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
truly matters. I hate to say that we don't matter, meaning DC fans. We do matter to a degree.
Sure.
But they need to capture the audience, the big, massive audience. A franchise can't usually run on just the core fan base alone, unless you want to have small, random movies, every so often. But the thing is that James Gunn has an established career, an established reputation, I should say, a track record.
Yeah.
And to hear these people, to go back to what Ryan was bringing up with Zack Snyder, just see these people continue to surface and bully anyone that shows any type of potential excitement for something that's in the near future, you are browbeaten by Snyder fans. And I don't understand their strategy anymore. When they were doing Save the Snyder Cut, I was behind it because I wanted to see the Snyder Cut. It made sense. It was only a few years after he had been fired or let go. There was a possibility. Snyder has not been actively involved in DC for just about 10 years.
Yeah.
Dude, give it a rest,
8
man.
years. About 8 years. He's not coming
He's not
back.
coming back.
It's over. So you are destroying any excitement by your trolling, your ratings, not tampering. What's the word I'm looking
Ratings
for?
bomb.
The ratings bombings, just the negativity. You're not helping. And I don't understand what their goals are at this point. Because what do they think? DC's going to cave and say, well, let's bring Snyder back?
Yeah.
They don't, like, it's been long enough. Like,
And I love, I'm not going to say I don't love Snyder. I
Right.
absolutely like Snyder's work. I liked Man of Steel quite a bit. I love Batman vs. Superman. I thought it was fantastic. So, and even the overly pretentious, unnecessary Snyder cut was awesome. But it's over now. Just let it go and let people look forward to something
New
and exciting, because that's all we have. And also, let's not pretend it's a silver lining. James Gunn is good at what he does.
It's really weird, man. I think when James Gunn was announced to do the Suicide Squad, and I told Bobby, I was like, man, I know what's going to happen. The Marvel dorks are going to go, well, they had to bring a Marvel director in to get a DC thing done right. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want it to be good.
Yeah.
Then I watched it, and I was like, fuck, it's really good.
Good.
And I was like, fuck, the characters are really good. And he brought in Idris Elba. He brought in, John Cena. And I'm like, man, like, how is all this gonna work? And I watched the movie. I'm like, fuck, this movie's good. Then he did Peacemaker. I'm like, fuck, this is good. And it's like the guy. And then
you have to be really miserable, right, Ryan?
You have to be a miserable.
You
have to be miserable, dude. Like you have to be.
You have to go
an
in there
insufferable prick,
so jaded, and just looking for something to rip
hate on.
And because there's absolutely no reason to hate on things, and it's one of those things. Again, we've made a living off this, our voice being on the internet for over a decade at this point. And it's just like, man, I wish people didn't have a fucking voice over the internet anymore, because it's just so hard to.
I would give up my voice if it meant everyone else was silent as well.
Yeah, I would stop. I would stop right now.
Michael's sacrifice for our sins.
That's our version of Thanos.
Yeah.
Except the sacrifice is me.
Yeah.
Michael's our Jesus.
One for the
The Rain Man Jesus.
Rain Man Jesus. To silence the internet.
Oh God,
Savior of us all.
Oh my God, can we get that hashtag going?
Rain Man Jesus. I only to be resurrected, the spit fury.
Rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
But it's always weird, because you do see a bunch of stuff. You see a bunch of ratings bombs. I mean, I know this isn't a Marvel show, but you look at Captain America: New World. And
my God,
it's at like a 49% right now, and I'm like, is it at a 49% because it's not up to the par of the nerds that think they know everything about everything,
or is it just not a good movie?
Is it really not a good movie? But
it's hard to even know nowadays.
I'll be honest with you. I can sit here and I can tell you right now, I am going to go watch this movie next week. I guarantee I'm going to go in and be like, there's nothing wrong with that movie.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that movie. Like I just know that's going to happen.
If they're trying to compare that to,
it's not Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier is a once in a decade type of movie.
Like you always talk about, there's a difference between cinema and movies, right, Mike?
Yeah.
And
Winter Soldier is cinema.
It's and there's a difference between those two things, and I want people to realize that, even when it comes to the DC stuff, is that you're not going to go in there. And I always joke when me and Ryan do the billionaire box office boys, because we can go in there and watch a movie and shut off our brain
and have fun
with whatever it is. And I think people need to realize that's what movies are. And if you're going in and expecting Schindler's List out of fucking Superman, you also have a problem.
Well, also it comes down to I think a lot of fans have their headcanon set in stone.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they don't, if it doesn't follow their headcanon,
ain't that the truth?
It automatically is. It
ruins the movie.
It ruins the movie.
Yeah.
Instead of just taking a sit back and basically saying, this is another person's interpretation of this character.
Isn't it fun sometimes to just be pleasantly surprised?
Yeah.
Why do you want exactly what's in your head?
Which is hilarious.
Strange. That's strange.
It's weird,
Which is hilarious to me when it comes to even DC comic fanboys out there that basically want to rail against anything new and different in DC. And I'm going, why are they hating on it when everyone knows, everyone has their own different interpretation of those characters.
And that's why we have 17 different Batman books. They're all different.
They're all different types.
We have all different types of stories of these characters.
Dude, Captain America's at 52%. Yeah. Paddington in Peru is at 93%.
Paddingtons are actually really good movies.
Paddington's a really good movie.
What?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
It's a good movie.
Come on.
Okay, so bringing it back quickly to, or briefly to, I don't remember. for the purposes of just being balanced and unbiased as well, like, listen, I have voiced my own hesitations about James Gunn handling, not DC. I think he's more than capable of helming a Superman movie. I do have my hesitations, and I'm optimistically, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimistically
Cautious.
There we go. Thank you. So, because the reason why I say this is because James Gunn's never handled anything like Superman. Superman is a completely different realm for James Gunn in terms of thematics, like what's actually being said. There's a note of, not a note, there's a lot of underlining of optimism when it comes to Superman stories. There's a humanistic aspect to Superman's story, whereas if you look at James Gunn's stuff, a lot of his stuff is existential, very dark in tone, and
a
it
lot of his
doesn't.
characters are broken.
So is that style of filmmaking, which I do like, that's more my type of thing, in all honesty. And that's why me being a Superman fan doesn't really make sense to a lot of people, because I like darker things, and yet, you know, maybe there's a message there in itself. The fact that Superman's my only hope and optimism in life. So that's being
sad.
said, well, I'm just trying to connect my discussion points that are quickly becoming incoherent. Anyways, James Gunn isn't the best director of all time by any means, but that shouldn't be
Doesn't
the reason
matter.
why.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's a good leader. He's a collaborative type of director. He has a great team around him, and that to me is more important than anything. Snyder didn't really have a team.
No.
He has himself, and
That's
he even took over cinematography, the visual effects, and I don't think you can operate at 100% doing
everything.
Not with something this big.
I think the thing that what you should know about James Gunn, and this is clearly evident, is that James Gunn has a plan, and he's already executing it.
Yeah.
As the way he sees, and I think so far he hasn't really missed.
Well, also he's made comments like, "If I don't have a story, I'm not doing a movie."
Yes.
And that's sort of how it's supposed to be. I mean, I don't know. I don't write movies. We have a movie writer in here. I think he can. Tell me that,
absolutely.
But,
The thing is like my main worry about that. I see a lot of the stuff that Gunn is saying, but at the end of the day, we all know they're more powerful kind of entities that control DC Comics over James Gunn that could just look at him and say, "No, you're going to actually turn around.
Ugh.
No, you're going to do it this way."
Hopefully they don't make that mistake again. Earlier, David, you brought up what people want in their head canon. In a lot of people's head canon, Jason Momoa is Aquaman, and now he is Lobo. How do you guys think that is going to?
I don't think it
work.
I don't think it'll matter, and here's why: because I think both characters are completely opposite looking.
Yes.
And I think if they make Lobo look the way that Lobo's supposed to look, like Lobo, then nobody's going to give a shit.
But Jason Momoa is only Jason Momoa.
I understand that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, look wise, she clearly has an opinion.
He has an opinion.
I'm saying look wise. Okay, I need Jason Momoa to maybe dial back Jason Momoa a little bit. But I think look-wise, if they make him look correct and he plays it differently, Lobo is, the way he played Aquaman was very, I'm going to use the word flippant.
Yeah.
Right? He was very flippant as Aquaman. I didn't see him as the Aquaman that we usually see in the comic, the blonde hair, the blue,
the King Arthur.
The King Arthur looking character. He played him more Samoan.
Aryan, if you will.
Yes, very Aryan, if you will. Very Aryan. And I think that if he plays Lobo as that space kind of like dingy piece of crap, like
which
that
he
Lobo is.
But that's Jason Momoa on Instagram.
I know. So maybe he just plays himself on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be bad. I really don't.
I think he'll look just fine as Lobo, but I am a fan of Jason Momoa, but
so am I.
But unfortunately, with a lot of actors of his caliber, once they get famous, they kind of just take it easy.
They phone it in.
And when he first entered the scene, like in a big way, in
not
that
Baywatch?
I forgot he was
the
in
Game of
Baywatch.
Thrones era when he first started, and he was in
Before
he was in the
Stargate
remake
SG-1.
of Conan. If you remember, Conan the Barbarian.
I actually like that movie.
It was actually crappy good, yes.
Yes.
And then He did the movie with Stallone that was really good, Bullet in the Head. He was acting.
Yeah.
He was being someone different. Then when he got cast as Aquaman, he now plays every role as himself. And that is a little disappointing. Even in Doom.
In Fast Furious, he was gay Joker.
Oh,
or just Joker.
Oh, that's right.
But that's the problem. That's a whole different.
Gay Joker.
That's a whole different discussion, Mike, that we could have is about how actors just literally make the characters themselves. I mean, look at Robert Downey Jr. with Iron Man.
I would argue that
Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool.
Yes, but okay. The difference is Robert Downey Jr. can also do numerous other varieties.
Yeah, he didn't play
performances.
He didn't play fucking in Oppenheimer. He wasn't fucking
true.
Tony Stark.
The way Robert Downey Jr. articulates is very similar to Tony Stark in real life. So that is a good comparison. But he also does vastly other roles.
Look,
Jason Momoa doesn't do vastly different roles.
Well, we don't know yet. You want to know why? Because he's going to be in the Minecraft movie, and we'll see if he plays Jason Momoa in the Minecraft movie, right? That's the first time he's playing a character that isn't like.
Is it him?
Watch your foot, Ryan.
Oh, am I shaking the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're dealing with Jason Momoa in Minecraft is the same as Rock and Jumanji.
Yes.
Yep.
But see,
those movies are good, though.
See, you bring up The Rock. That's another good example.
Yeah, he
The
plays
Rock,
The
when
Rock.
he first came onto the scene after the horrendous Scorpion King.
What? No, you didn't like that?
He actually started acting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, he impressed me. He's a decent actor. Look at
has
him.
range.
And then he got really big, and he quit acting.
And he did San Andreas.
And he became the Will Smith. that just does the oh no, you did not shoot that blue shit at me. The same fucking
Let's
joke.
not hate on Independence Day now.
I'm just saying he has said similar things in almost every movie.
Yes.
I mean, he did. I mean, in the first Suicide Squad, he goes, what's he say? You jokers got to be crazy. Like, he says the same thing. Yeah, pretty much.
And again, that's what I worry about is like the crossover of bringing in old actors to be new characters that exactly don't have that range. Now, Batista has said that he's willing to come on to James Gunn's universe also.
I love him.
But at least Dave Batista
Can actually act
and is putting effort into his craft at this point.
I just hope he doesn't get really big in the acting and then I'm just going to dial in. I don't think so, because if you listen to every interview when he talks about acting, he is so fucking passionate about getting better. I mean, look at all that weight he shed so he can be more, so he can get cast in more things.
I know, but I wouldn't take chemotherapy for that.
Is that how he did it?
No. Who does that?
Jesus Christ. I was like, are you fucking
When
kidding
I first
me?
saw him, I thought he had cancer.
Same here.
Oh my
I thought the same thing.
Listen, dude, I wouldn't doubt it because people in Hollywood do the strangest shit, dude.
Yeah.
To lose weight,
A random story. Kids these days are taking Plan B so they can get on TRT.
What's TRT?
Testosterone replacement therapy.
Oh my God.
I wish I could say that I was making that up, but that's a different story.
That's for a different show.
But you'd be amazed on what people are willing to do to get whatever they need
Okay,
done.
all right. Fan cast. Who would Batista play in the DC?
Bane, if he was big.
Automatically Bane.
I think that's too obvious.
Not now.
I think
Not
that's
now.
too. I think that's too obvious for him too.
The-
I think he wants to do something
Him
very
right
different.
now, the one fan one of mine, if Batista ever got drafted into
Alfred.
DC,
He has gray hair now.
is actually the villain from Batman, the doctor. I forgot the
Doctor Strange.
No,
or not
not-
Doctor Strange. Doctor Hugo Strange.
Hugo Strange.
It's Doctor Strange. It's Hugo Strange.
I know, but when you say Doctor Strange,
I know. You think? Yeah, I know.
But Dr. Hugo, him as that would be really cool. And to
see,
what
David,
Mike said,
I like that. Go with a character, cast him as someone that most mainstream people don't really know.
and to your credit, Mike, I mean, I honestly think Batista could pull it off because he has the acting acumen.
I
to
don't
pull
even
it.
like to put him in the same category as Momoa and The Rock conversations
I think
because
he's
I
better.
think he's excelled.
I took John Cena out of that conversation.
In my opinion, he is an actor now.
Yeah.
The way he acts, the way he just deals with the public, the roles he wants, his persona has even changed. He is going for that. That's who he wants to be. These other people just themselves.
Yeah.
So Sandman's coming to an end. They're going to release season 2 on Netflix, but
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
That guy shot himself in the foot. Dude.
What do you guys feel
yeah.
about like shows getting canceled because of creators doing weird things?
So here's
listen,
where
sodomy and human trafficking that will
there
get you
wasn't-
down.
Yeah,
here's
get you down, Bobby.
But wait a second.
I'm-
There was a city named after sodomy. I don't know why that's such a big deal. Sodom, right? Okay, hold on. Let me.
The only thing he knows in the Bible.
It's literally
it's the-
Sodom and
it's the
Gomorrah.
perverse city.
And I know that Gomorrah is the same name as a character in. Never mind. Anyways,
Yeah. So you butt fuck Gamora?
I would. Is that bad?
Steve approves.
You're gonna get some green on your dick.
Dude, it's her
He
skin.
already
It's not
grabs green dick.
Okay, so the way I see this is, I think you take his name off the project, right? You take it does you don't. It's not Neil.
Not Neil
Gaiman's
Gaiman.
Sandman. I think that goes away.
Not Neil. Dude, his name is just crossed out.
That'd actually be amazing.
See,
Slashes it out.
That's something we would do. If we ran a studio just to be cynical,
I would
dick,
just like
Oh yeah, dude. You know what I would do?
Run the thing in front of the thing.
and
Like,
then there'd be a black
nobody
mark.
in production of this was nobody in front of the nobody in the filming or acting in this movie got butt fucked by Neil Gaiman.
oh my God.
I think you get rid of the name, obviously off the title. I think I think you separate as far as possible. But if the product is still good,
yeah.
and like what they're doing is good, because the first season was really, really good, I think you move on. I don't think you cancel the whole thing, especially if the ratings are good. Like,
The problem is though, Ryan, no one today can do that though.
They
I mean,
might.
the sad thing is like that would be the normal thing that, all of us logically would say, just separate yourself from the artist and the product. But in today's world, no one can do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do that, people will say, "Oh no, that brings glory to that person."
That's the type of stuff. You just got to get uppity and stupid with people to win these arguments.
everyone's
because
solely think from Socrates.
authors don't exist.
Socrates.
Socrates.
You don't even know anything.
Socrates.
But to your
Okay,
credit,
Bill and Ted.
But to your credit, though, you're right. I mean, honestly, the first season of Sandman is one of my favorite DC things. During a point when there was
It was
not
really bad.
very anything
To
good
a point
DC.
where DC was like, we're not even going to call it DC.
yeah, and
We're
I'm
going to
going,
save ourselves from ourselves because we have such a bad reputation.
How's the reputation for Vertigo? Should we bring that back or?
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like
But
it's
that's what's
such
so
a
stupid.
shame that basically they had a great season
Yeah.
and suddenly now
And
we're
then
just
he
going
butt fuck some people, and then it's over.
and it's over.
It is extremely short-sighted, and it
His
I'm
dick,
trying.
or-
No. I'm saying when people just start canceling things. Do you know how many of our greatest like poets and authors and stage writers from 400, 500, 1,000 years ago that we today worship and love and study have had these types of things happen in their life? Look at it that way. Just because time has separated the event doesn't mean it hasn't happened. So the difference between 1,000 years, 100 years, and last week really doesn't matter. So I don't understand why they do that. It's quite stupid when you really think of it, because it's also their products. They own them. They make money off these things.
Yeah. It's always one of those things because you think about, like, remember we called it the Kreisberg effect when they shit canned Andrew Kreisberg on CW.
Dude, and that's a perfect example, because what happened after he left?
It went all
It went
to
downhill.
hell.
The entire DC on CW completely fell apart.
Completely took a shit.
So maybe Neil Gaiman does have that kind of pull on the show, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
His contracts are a little different, I believe, Bob, like meaning he does have ownership of some of these, and I think
Yeah.
maybe that's possibly why they just said fuck him. You know? So
again, it's disappointing that so many of his projects were getting yanked that were relatively hits or good on television there.
Oh yeah,
dude, yeah, Sandman was a hit.
hit
The other show was even bigger on Amazon. They canceled.
Omen.
Omen. Good Omens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was hugely successful, and people went crazy when they announced that it was being canceled, or I think it was being sent off with like a 2-hour movie.
Yes.
Yeah, they converted it over. Dead Boy Detectives was canceled.
Yep.
There was a couple more shows that were in the pipeline that were canceled, and it just again, it doesn't mean anything that he did was right, but the fact of the matter is, if we were to look at everything, like you said, everything that everybody's ever done, we wouldn't have any kind of creativity because there's so many different aspects of it. I mean, let's just take Kanye West, for example. It doesn't mean he's not a genius for what he did because of what he's become. And you know what I mean? Like, why the writing and everything that he was done to establish these characters could be picked up by somebody else.
Sure. I mean, he's already established the character to a point where it's like someone else could elaborate.
There's
on
source material.
Sure, you could elaborate on it. You could tell your own story about this character.
Like, how many books are there in that?
There's a shit ton.
There's a shit ton.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done so much, and I think,
that whole universe is a universe on its own.
Yeah.
I just don't know why we give up on it. We just don't scratch out his names because 95% of the people in the world aren't going to understand that Neil Gaiman. I bet you they don't even know if that dude's alive or not.
Yeah.
Well, the thing
it's just at this point, it's Stephen King's It, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, do people really know, or is it just a name at the front?
And listen, I like dark things, but I mean, are we really gonna act surprised? Oh, him and his wife were fucking people together. Oh, the horror. Read 3 pages of any of his books. If a dude is getting swallowed alive by a woman's vagina, chances are he probably has some weird fantasies as well.
What book is that?
It's like American Gods.
Fuck yeah. It's like reading 50 Shades of Grey and being appalled by it.
Yeah, let's not pretend suddenly. I think you have delicate sensibilities.
The thing that you have to understand about people nowadays is that people will swim in the ocean and get bit by a shark and blame the shark, not them being in the ocean. I think that the issue with people is that, we're entitled, and at some point we're entitled to that. We think we believe, we're everything that we believe is the greatest thing ever. I am totally on board with Bobby. I mean, I would say 85% of the population doesn't even know if Neil Gaiman's alive. They probably think he's dead, like Tolkien.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter. Just get his name off there. Continue to write the story. There's all kinds of source material. There's tons of writers in Hollywood that could write.
There are
just as good as shit. And I think
you are right, Ryan. You're
just
absolutely right, because who knows Neil Gaiman besides nerds?
Yeah,
nerds. That's it.
And people who read his books. Most people are like, "Oh, who's Neil Gaiman?"
I don't know who that is. And then they have to Google it, and they Google it, and then it says butt fuck. I just read the allegations. I mean, dude, it is just get rid of his name. It's
and that's
fine.
the sadder part too. Now, especially with this, because if you think about it, even as a comic book fan, Sandman itself had more writers on it than Gaiman. Yeah, Gaiman started it off, and he laid the foundation for everybody. But at the end of the day, there were other writers that came up through that Vertigo line that became like household names for comic book fans.
Well, so one of the things that Mike and I covered was a show called Lovecraft Country, and I thought the show was fantastic. It was 1 season, and H.P. Lovecraft was a racist piece of shit.
Yeah,
but all of his stuff that he did is fantastic. So they did Lovecraft Country, and the entire cast was black. It's like, what an F you to the guy. And that season was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And that's all you got to do. Just get rid of Neil Gaiman's name, continue the story, because I thought season 1 was fantastic, and just keep going. And who gives a shit? There'll be some backlash at first, but people will fucking forget if you have good seasons. Nobody will give a fuck.
Everyone has a memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone in the United States, at least.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. Oh, this is DC on Marvel.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
DC on Marvel.
I just I don't know.
James Gunn starts that show. A bunch of DC execs just talking about Marvel.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It cut out. It'll be. I don't, because it's an interesting story. It's a unique story to its own. That whole universe is, and it just and It's not like we're sitting here condoning whatever he did, but the fact of the
Not at
matter
all,
is
yeah.
this, like, it doesn't stop the entertainment value of it.
No.
Again, R. Kelly peed on somebody. Michael Jackson was a pedo, and freaking Kanye West is a weird racist now. It doesn't mean that those
Weird
people
racist.
aren't, like, geniuses in what they were doing.
You can't take away someone's accomplishments.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't. I mean, before they did something bad, like, it is what it is. Like, people are human. And I think at the end of the day, like...
Well, nowadays with the town square we have, which is social media, and they grab their
Oh, you're not
pitchforks,
allowed
which is
to.
their keyboards. I mean, it's everything just gets.
Like-
We literally are living in medieval times. Like when something
Black Plague,
when
like,
something
like-
was offensive to someone and they couldn't understand it, and everything reverted or equated to some form of devilry or magic. What happens? You are strung up and you're killed. That's exactly what we do now. Before we even know what's happening, before the smoke is even settled, the town square has already, propped up the place you're going to be. Hanging, the hangman noose.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately, we've been on the bad end of that noose a couple times on this network.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when you go on your racist Mexican rants.
Yes, exactly. With a
About Ant-Man.
Filipino and a fucking Mexican on the mic with me.
I have black friends. I just want to put that out there.
Like how he
Wow.
just speaks up. I have black friends.
Just saying.
So on James Gunn did make an announcement, and this is how we're going to close out the show. January 3rd, he gave kind of like a rundown of what to expect from DC.
Ooh, okay.
So we already know about Superman Legacy.
Yep.
It's July 11th. I think we're all excited to see how that goes.
Yeah.
The Authority. What do you guys think?
Triple H and the
Yeah, yes.
WWE.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I
He's
didn't know they were
gonna
going
do
to
a
do a movie
crossover
about
there.
that.
That was a crossover movie. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So,
Honestly, I'm really psyched for that because Authority is DC's version of The Boys. And
Hold on. I don't think I ever watched or read this. So
yeah, Authority is like one of those series that basically was part of
it was
the
a Warren Ellis.
Wildstorm.
It was Warren Ellis. Oh, okay.
And Warren Ellis wrote it. And
yeah, it was Wildstorm, right?
yes. And honestly, I'm really interested if James Gunn actually does it justice. The Authority could be like a really cool take on the Justice League.
Are we getting too like vague out there with characters? Or are we looking at this as
At
like
first,
if we get
at first I thought so.
if we get goodwill with Superman, can we get
away? So I think this is the same thing that he did with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly.
So the first, I think the Guardians was the second movie that year that came out for Marvel, and the first movie was a big, like, I don't remember what it was that year, but
yeah, it was Guardians was like the Christmas versus the
Right.
summer of
so
whatever.
I think
Captain
what
America.
he's doing is he's starting with Superman. Everyone knows fucking Superman, right? Like Superman, most popular. He has to be the most popular superhero in the world, right? It's Superman. If that does well, this is like his Guardians of the Galaxy for DC. That's the way it looks like he's planning this. Because if Superman does well, people will give this a shot. And then
Yeah.
if this happens to be good, then they'll be like, well, fuck, what's the next thing? You know, and then so what's the next thing after that?
I don't think he'll be directing any subsequent Superman films.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think he wants to get tied down to just one
Again,
IP again.
Yeah, there's not a lot of dates with these. These are just what he announced on the
what
3rd
he
as
has
part
coming.
of the movie projects. So we have The Brave and the Bold, which
Dope.
we know.
I like the story he's going with, The Brave and the Bold,
Yeah.
which is the story of Damien.
Yes.
Oh, sick. That'll be cool.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow,
Okay.
Okay.
Swamp Thing.
Dope.
Please.
Hell yeah.
Then he announced these are the TV shows. We've already had the Creature Commandos.
Right.
He's doing a Waller spinoff.
Sick. With Viola Davis or whatever. her
It's a
name is.
live action spinoff of Peacemaker season 2.
Carver's the showrunner, Ryan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Tight. Viola Davis is dope as Waller.
And it's
Yeah.
Crystal Henry who ran The Watchmen for HBO.
Okay.
Nice.
Lanterns.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Paradise Lost, which will be about the Wonder Woman's island.
Oh, okay.
Themyscira.
Themyscira.
That's why I didn't try to pronounce it.
Themyscira.
Her,
in tight.
her and her mascara.
That's actually pretty good.
Booster Gold.
Oh, okay. Have they cast?
They haven't
yet?
cast
No,
They haven't
Anybody.
casted anybody yet.
I don't care about that one.
And but that was the announcement out of it. So there's a lot of we're getting secondary, we're getting primary type characters.
I'm okay with that. I think if it's every other movie, it's big character, B character or C character, whatever. Big character, C character. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it fleshes out the universe, his universe, right? Brave and Bold. So they're going to have to cast a Batman, right?
Batman showed up in Creature
Creature Commandos.
Oh, really?
And they're all supposed to be linked.
And it's an older Batman.
Oh, like a
Is
grizzle.
it? How do we know he's
grizzle?
older?
Is it like
Dude,
a,
we don't
we can
know
tell by the
that.
shadow.
When you see him in the shadow, he's old.
No,
Does he talk?
He doesn't know.
They never
No.
show. They never show him close up.
It's like Batman the animated series where he's standing on top of something, the lightning flashes.
yeah,
and you
looking
see him.
dope.
And you kind of see his stature, which is like he's this big hulking
Oh,
Batman from like Dark Knight.
Hell
Yeah, he
That's
looked
my
cool.
favorite kind of Batman.
That's why I say that he looked
It's
older
Ben
because
Affleck.
it's
based
like
on the aesthetic.
the Dark
Wouldn't you
Knight
shit if they
Batman.
brought Affleck back, dude? That'd be hilarious.
I just confuse everybody even more.
That's the point.
But that's the
They
point.
should just AI Affleck and Keaton together and just make it.
Oh, just a beautiful human being, huh?
So it's like Affleck's body with Keaton's head.
Yeah.
But can we do Clooney's
No,
nipples?
do an actual.
And Val Kilmer's eyes.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
We're making the perfect Batman.
That's
Adam
so
West's cock
creepy.
because he used it all the time.
That's a horror film right now. Like imagine a bunch of super
And then
nerds. Like,
for Damien, can we I'm trying to think who would
What?
Damian Wayne.
I understand. It's a little kid. Let's not go the same route.
Jesus, Neil Gaiman over here. Allegedly.
Wait, what?
Not for you, allegedly. Allegedly for Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
There's no kid
why
like
Ryan-
allegation, so I better walk that
Better
back.
chill, yeah.
Yeah, cut that out.
Dude, I'm okay with that. I think if you do a character and then use some sort of B or C character,
Yeah.
But again, I also have faith in the fact that he is publicly stated multiple times that I'm not going to do shit. I'm not here on a timeline.
Yeah.
Like if I don't
yeah.
have a story,
I'm not going to do it.
I'm
He's
not
not
going to
gonna
do
do
it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the next one that's actually getting filmed would be Supergirl, I believe, at this
I think
point,
so,
because
yeah.
that's why Momoa was cast as Lobo, because that's where he's
'cause
showing up.
he's in that.
Yeah.
I,
So-
cool.
Man,
Didn't they
I didn't-
cast Supergirl?
Yes.
It's the girl
Yes.
from House of Dragon, right?
I never watched House of Dragons, so yeah.
It's what's her face that plays the younger version of.
You have something to look it up.
I do, but I just saw David grabbing his thing first, so I was like, I'll let him look it up.
But I that one's been cast, and obviously it's written because that's how Momoa broke the thing, was him with a cigar putting it over the Lobo
Oh, yeah.
Supergirl
There
thing.
you go.
So
It's Millie Alka.
Yes. Yeah.
That-
She's
that
from
chick.
House of Dragon.
I don't know. I look forward to what they are doing, and I think I look forward to it more because we're watching kind of the downfall of Marvel. So I want to say whatever we have from DC is like new. And again, being comic book nerds, we all know what a reboot does. It brings you joy for possibly one or two things, and then it goes down. But I want to have faith in what we're seeing here. And I think he's saying the right things.
There's no reason to be negative.
There
There really isn't, right?
I mean,
Not
one
right
of the
now.
things, like one of the going back to one of your points, Bobby, about like the concern that, well, why is he taking like these smaller characters? At least Gunn has proven that he can do it. He
It's
did it with
elevating
Guardians.
an IP.
Yeah, he did it with Guardians. He did it with Suicide Squad. He did it with Creature Commandos. So right off the bat, he did it with 3 teams that I guarantee you, mass audiences didn't
I didn't know who
know
Guardians were.
anybody from those
No clue.
teams.
my only issue with that, and then I'll let Bobby take us out, but yeah, I have to say this because those are all ensemble pieces, and everything James Gunn has done is ensemble. Can he tell a coherent story that focuses on one person?
Peacemaker. Peacemaker, he was able to do it,
But that's a series.
but it was a series.
I'm talking about a movie. Can he do it on? It's hard. There is when
It's
you're
hard.
writing a movie, it sometimes is far easier, believe it or not, if you had extra characters because it makes it easier to create situations that your character can get out of. But when you have only a focus on one, you have to really think your way through a plot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if James. That's one of my fears. I'm gonna wait to see because I have confidence in his abilities. And like was what Bobby was saying, he's not here to fuck around. If he was confident enough to give him the task of the first live action in his new DC, then I'm sure he's gonna bring the heat. But that is something I'm gonna be keeping my eyes on.
Yeah.
No, it definitely makes sense because there is a lot of confusion with, Hawk Girl and everybody else being in this. Like, what is it going to mean? But we're also dealing with the fact that we spent so much time complaining all these years about, like, if something's happening in Central City, why doesn't Superman just fly over and fix it? And if we've already established this world of superheroes where they know each other and they're around, then, do we really need a single point story at that point? If we are dealing with these world-ending events, or are we going to like isolate those like they kind of do with Spider-Man, where Spider-Man is the friendly neighborhood guy, and so nobody needs to come help him? And the same thing with like Daredevil and that when it comes to Marvel, to when it's a smaller story, okay, cool, they're dealing with it. Like for Batman, if it's not a world-ending story, you're not going to watch Batman fight the Riddler with the help of Superman and Green Lantern because he doesn't need it because he's dealing with his small shit. But then all of a sudden, if it's a bigger issue, then you start bringing in the ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to look at with James Gunn is based on what type of story is he telling it, depending on what kind of cast are we getting. Obviously, with the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, we're dealing with more of a space type theme because you're bringing in Lobo, as a character. So you're expecting to see a little bit more out of that. But again, if it's not a world ender, I don't think we need all those characters.
I totally agree.
And I think we'll see what happens. And again, we got to have faith in Gunn at this point because it is a wash. It is something brand new. And it's just like, again, we just need the Snyder nerds to stop at this point.
I'll go sit in the movie theater with no expectations and probably enjoy it and be happy.
Yeah, we don't need life-ending things. We just need something to help us forget for fucking 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, and that'll do it for this DC on RMD or Marvel on RMD or Marvel on DC or whatever Ryan said earlier. We will talk at you later.